FX Nation, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. And in this video guys, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to walk you through what it looks like when I'm trading the London session. What my process is, what I do from beginning to end. That way you can better understand what it looks like when I'm essentially trading the London session. Alright, so that's what we're going to go over in this video guys. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright guys, well if you're new to the channel, definitely welcome to FXN Trading Group. Please consider subscribing. We appreciate your support. And of course, if you would like to join us and trade with us, we do have a Telegram chat. You do have to go to fxntrading.com and actually sign up for a free membership to be able to join our chat. But if you want to trade with us, definitely is something that we would enjoy having you in the chat. Alright, so the first thing that I do guys is, as you can see here, I literally go through every single euro and pound pair and I start to lay out my Asian session. That's the very first thing that I do on every single pair. I don't worry about anything else but literally putting on the Asian sessions on all the pairs that I normally look at. And so that essentially is going to be the first thing that I do. And so again, that's on every euro pair and every pound pair. There are a couple of USD pairs that I also look at, like USD JPY and USD Swiss, USD CAD, those type of pairs. And then of course sometimes I do occasionally look at different ones like, you know, Swiss JPY or AUD USD. It just really depends, and a lot of it really I look at depending on what you guys are saying in the Telegram chat, as far as what you're looking at. So essentially that's what I do to begin with, is I just start literally going each by each chart and start drawing out the Asian range. That's literally all I do. Now, once I finish doing all of the Asian ranges on all of the pairs that I'm going to trade, then I can go ahead and focus on trying to essentially eliminate what pairs are going to be potentially tradable from what pairs are not going to be tradable. All right, so that's the next thing that I'm going to show you that I go through, and let's just go to that now. All right, well, let's start eliminating from possibilities. Right, so what do we have? Beginning of the week, Sunday, Monday. Here we have a trap M, multi-session M, going down to a level. So really here I'm only interested in sells. Euro pound, you gotta see if it's gonna tag this high from the previous week up here, and then see if it makes a type 1 setup here. Euro USD, so Euro USD is very similar to Euro CAD, where Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday with a false move to the high, and then they dropped. So looking for essentially the same thing, which is a sell. I'd be more interested in selling this than buying it. Euro Swiss. So Euro Swiss seems to be like the stepchild of everything because it's doing something, you know, completely on its own. So you're looking at basically lows down here, and essentially you're looking at what, a channel, right, moving back and forth there. off of a downtrend. So this could be peak formation low off of this high, right? Peak formation high here. This would be 1. This would be 2. This could be 3. So if that's the case, then you'd definitely be interested more in a buy on this than a sell. So this one's similar to Euro Swiss. I'd probably want to do more buys on this one than sells. Trap. Well, you have what? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, trap, reversal. We gotta see on this one, man. Because I'm thinking it could come up and then go continue back down for more. Is what I'm thinking. Because if you go to the higher time frames, you see that on the higher time frames? I mean, it's basically, you know, at the highs already. And yeah, you start thinking like, let's say traditional traders, right? You'll start to draw some funk lines, right? Right? I think you can get a counter trade up. Because this is, yeah, about 40 pip range, 42 pip range. So if you can get a trade back up to at least just the top of the range, that's at least 40 pips right there. So, you know, and then it could go on and continue on its way down. This right here, I mean, it keeps tagging the low of Asia, right? Well, here's the thing though, I would want this to come back up because you have what, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. There's your trap move here, and then here's your reversal. Right, so there's a level. So I would like it to do something like that. So what's his range? It's about 30 pips almost. Alright, so once I basically take a look at all the different pairs and I analyze them and I see potentially what, you know, kind of setups I could have, I start to tag each pair that I'm potentially interested in looking into and keeping an eye on basically as the, you know, London session develops, to see if we can potentially, you know, start to get any kind of trade formations at all forming. So I just literally start tagging them, as you can see there on the right side, red. That way, you know, it just reminds me of the pairs specifically that I'm looking at. And so really, once I start tagging them, it's really, after this is just a matter of waiting and waiting and waiting. It's like the most boringest part ever. It's waiting for something to develop, for something to happen. And it just really comes down to just having patience. It's hugely a big key in your trading, is having patience and letting things develop and not overreacting to any little small move. All right, guys. So now essentially all I do is I'm literally going back through the selected pairs, and I'm just taking my extra time essentially and just analyzing them further, just to make sure that if I could potentially essentially, I'm trying to be like an investigator, right? And start to put things together. You know, start to put where they are in the cycle, whether it was, you know, this week's high, last week's high, just putting different things together to see whether or not it just makes sense for this trade to be a type 1 or type 2 or type 3 setup. And literally I just go through this next process here is just going through each individual one and just seeing, what the possibilities are for potential either buy or sell. And a lot of the things that I look for is, I try to go back, even a couple of weeks back and see what the bigger picture is of each pair. And so if I can get a clear picture of what's going on the bigger end or in the bigger picture of that particular pair, can give me, clues as to what the next potential bigger move is. And essentially that's what it is. It's just going through each pair and then just while you're waiting, seeing and making sure that you can potentially see any kind of trade setups. And if you don't see any kind of trade setups, then you need to basically dismiss that particular pair from being tradable for that day. So you'll notice that go along, as we go along throughout the session, you'll see me uncheck the little red dots next to the actual pairs, and that's just because I've determined that that's not a viable trade, either because just the setup is not there, or maybe the picture is just not clear enough for me to actually want to be able to take that trade. And that's just what it comes down to, guys. It's just having the patience and just going through each individual one and letting it play out, and seeing what it gives you. You'll see that on the next section here, once I start to see something potentially develop and I'm closer to taking a trade setup, I start to potentially put in what the trade actually is going to look like for me, so I can just get a clearer picture of what that would be essentially, when it comes to either, let's say, how many pips am I risking to making sure I can get 30 pips out of it, or at least a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio, things of that nature. But in this particular, section here, all I'm doing is I'm literally just breaking down each pair, whether looking at news, any of the calendar, seeing if there's any kind of news events coming up that might affect, potentially what I could find or see. And if there is any kind of news events for it, then I wait for the news events to happen to kind of see what what potentially comes about it. So that's all we do in this particular section, is just waiting and trying to break down further in detail these potential trade setups. So all right, guys, so now essentially what I end up doing is, as the setups become present, I start to go ahead and grab my tools for long and short on TradingView on the left hand side there, and I start placing those on the potential trade setups, so I can physically look at how the trade might look. Making sure essentially that I get am I going to get, I basically start asking myself questions like, am I going to get a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio? Am I risking, 15 pips or more, or is it going to be shorter than 15 pips? Am I going to get 30 pips out of it? Can I potentially get 50? I start asking myself these questions, and I start putting up the short and long position to help me kind of assess what that trade might look like. Now, just because I put those on the charts doesn't mean that I'm going to take that specific trade, but it just allows me to essentially get a more clearer picture as things are developing and as potential trades come about that could be something that's tradable. So I look at the trades, I see, where possibly we could go as take profit points. So let's say if I have the EMAs in my favor, could I use the EMAs essentially to, as my take profit points, and how far away are the EMAs from the take profit points? So different things like that is I start thinking about as I'm placing these on the charts. And sometimes, I place them really early just so I can start to see, the shape or what it could be, what the trade essentially could look like. Some of these automatically get, let's say, disqualified from trading because they don't meet my criteria. And I mean, basically, like the stop loss would be way too high, over 20, 30 pips or so once I start doing this. So, examples like that, those pairs automatically I disqualify them because they don't meet within my parameters of the rules that I set for myself when it comes to trading a pair. And this is essentially where your own trading plan will come into play, because it's great to be able to see potential setups, but you also have to be cognizant of the fact that you have to follow your own rules of whatever your trading plan are. So if you have specific, trading rules of not trading over 15 pip stop losses or stuff like that, these are all important factors that you need to take into account, and you need to be essentially consistent within your own rules to be successful. So as these trades start to come about, I do enter some of the trades as long as they meet, all of my rules and stuff like that. So some of these, as you can see, they're going into profit, and I've entered some of these trades already. But this process really is literally just going through all the different trades, all the potential trade setups, and seeing how they would work out. Some of them, if they are not going to work out because of either the stop loss being too big or anything like that, I will start to unmark them on the right side of TradingView where it no longer has that little red dot. And so that way I can just strictly focus on the ones that do have the little red dots that still have the markers of potential trades or actual trades that I'm in. And that process literally just goes through the rest of the London session. Essentially, I'm just there, just literally waiting, and basically making sure that the trade keeps going, in either my direction, or if I need to make adjustments or things of that nature. So these are just things that you have to do, and this is once you enter the trade, really, now you're in basically, trade management mode, and you're just managing the trades at that point. And if you need to, making sure that you move your stop losses down, to, let's say, break even points and things of that nature, depending on how fast or how slow the actual pairs are moving. And that's really all that I do at this point. Is I enter the trades, and then I just start watching them, essentially making sure that that they're going in the right direction. I always keep the rule, of course, of the 6 candle rule. If the movement of price isn't moving, or if I'm not in substantial profit after, let's say 6 candles after I enter the trade, then that's a good idea to maybe exit the trade and either take a small loss or take a break even loss on the trade, or take a break even on the trade itself because it's not moving in my direction. But essentially that's what I do. All right, guys. So essentially, the next thing is entering in the trades, or once a setup meets my requirements for entry or my rules of entry, enter the trade, obviously, and then we go from there. Once I'm in an actual trade, I'm literally just focusing in on those specific pairs that I have open trades on, and it's just a matter of just switching back and forth between the different pairs, making sure, how they're checking on how they're going. Literally just like trade management, right? It's just watching the pairs do their thing. The pairs that we actually ended up trading on this specific day, Euro Pound. Euro Pound was a trade that we did for 22 pips, and we got out as it hit the 200 EMA. There was one pair that we did take that was Euro JPY, and that actually was a loss. And you'll see here in the video, as I took the trade, and literally as soon as we got into the trade, the very next candle, it just randomly shot up. And I was kind of curious as to what happened, because there was no news releases for Euro or JPY pairs that we saw. But looking upon some Forex Factory, there was literally news released about something to do with China traps or whatnot that had just been approved. And it literally, all the JPY pairs basically shot up. And it just took us out. So it's 13 pip loss on that specific trade that we took. The other trades that were taken on this day were Euro Swiss. That was a 30 pip trade when that we took. The very last one that we ended up taking was Pound AUD. That took forever. It seemed to initiate. And that was 43 pips. Pound Swiss was 50 pips, and the last one was Euro USD. That was 10 pips. And that particular trade, essentially, we got out of it early. After 6 candles, there was really no movement at all. It was just moving sideways. So we decided to cut the losses and just get what we could out of it. And that was it for that specific pair. So all in total, about 142 pips on that specific session of trading. All right, guys, I hope that you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope you gained a lot of value from watching it. I hope this gave you just an insight as to what a London session, should look like, or primarily at least looks like for me. And enjoy the week of trading, guys. Guys, one last thing. Thank you so much for watching my videos. I really appreciate the fact that you take the time to watch my videos. I really hope that I've added value in each of the videos that I make for you guys, and I hope that you're learning something. As always, guys, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Please like and share the videos if you found value in them. And also, don't forget to visit our website at www.fxntrading.com. Once again, guys, thank you so much. I'm truly blessed.